We're now looking at the problem set 1B. So if you look at this problem, what you'll notice is that it's dealing with sodium propanoate, which really comes from 1A as well. So make sure that you've done 1A before you do 1B. So we know the propanoate ion is this C3H5O2 minus. And what we know is that the sodium is in there so that it's a salt, as if we had a buffer. However, I don't actually need it in my equation because it's not really reacting with anything. It's not going to matter. It's just what's called a spectator ion. So when I put this in water, it's going to dissociate. And because it's a weak base, I know that because its conjugate acid is propanoic acid, it's going to make OH minus in water. And the conjugate acid, HC3H5O2 propanoic acid. So I'm going to ignore the Na for now because that really has nothing to do with it. And I'm going to make another ice table. My initial concentration is 0.1, just like it was in the other problem. So H2O doesn't matter, it's a liquid. I would have 0 OH minus and 0 of the conjugate acid. My change, again, minus X plus X plus X. So 0.100 minus X, this would be X, and this would be X. Now, because this is a base, I have to write a Kb for it. So a Kb is the same thing as a Ka, except B standing for base. So it's OH minus products over reactants times propanoic acid divided by propanoate ion. And keep in mind there's no water in here because it is a liquid. And I do know this one little trick, that Kw equals Ka times Kb if they're for a conjugate acid-base pair. So I know from problem number 1, and you can actually see it right up in my original sheet, that Ka for the propanoic acid, this part, is 1.3 times 10 to the negative 5th. And I know Kw is 10 to the negative 14th, or 1 times 10 to the negative 14th. So what I can do is find Kb by taking Kw and dividing it by Ka. So take out your calculator and do that now. 10 to the negative 14th divided by 1.3 times 10 to the negative 5th. And you get 7.69 times 10 to the negative 10th. I'm not sure if you can read that on my screen though. Kb is 7.69 times 10 to the negative 10th. So now I can just plug this in, just like I did before. So 7.69 times 10 to the negative 10th equals, well, OH minus and propanoic acid up here are both X's. So that's going to be X squared divided by 0.1 minus X. Now, same thing we did with problem 1A. You take a look at this and you realize if I have to cross multiply, I'm going to end up with some quadratic formula. So to avoid that, I go up and say, all right, this is a really weak base, so whatever change happens is going to be fairly small. It's really not going to matter. So I'm going to do that X check at the end. So for now, I'm going to ignore this minus X. So when I multiply this by 0.1, I get 7.69 times 10 to the negative 11th equals X squared. Then I'm going to take the square root of that, and you can do that right now in your calculator. Square root of 7.69 times 10 to the negative 11th. And I get 8.77 times 10 to the negative 6. So again, a totally separate problem. This is just me checking to make sure that this ignoring